It's called Vicino di qui, which in Italian means near here. Near to here is what it means. It's near to some place inside of Jack's head. So, so it's near here if you're Jack. I wanted to talk about this painting because he painted it and it directly went into some building, and I never saw it before it was actually hung here about 4 or 5 months ago. And I've known Jack forever, and I walked in and I said, whoa, look at that painting. I never saw it before. So it's kind of a surprise to me. And so I thought it would be interesting to talk about it. It's quite an abstract painting, but like a lot of abstract paintings, it has resonances with things we recognize. You know, I love looking at this. To me, this is the way the painting unpacks. You look at this painting, it's unpacking itself for you. And one of the things that people who don't look at a lot of paintings wonder is, what am I supposed to think? Well, forget that. Just look at it and think, what's going on in there? Where are these things? There's a suggestion about where they are. This is very unclear to me. Where the heck is this? This is quite mysterious. I'm more certain about this. And then this is a very clear image of something that's rounded, that's a leaning funnel. Another one over here. And he is using them to echo each other, and which to me makes it more musical. I think you feel like it's a musical instrument because there's two of them. He's got a real sense of order. He's got a real sense of the shape of the canvas, the rectangle, the fact that these lines go through the center, and there's a grid here, real strong grid. It has quite a bit of space in it, starting with the concept of the bottom of the painting being the foreground, the middle of the painting being the middle ground, and the back of the painting being back behind. So there's some very obvious overlaps going on here. And sometimes when you don't make paintings yourself, you don't realize what a decision an overlap is. There's an organization here, even though we might not have any idea what these things are, we can see them in context in relation to what's around them. So we've got really clear figure-ground relationships. This is clearly a figure, and this is clearly a ground right here, right around here. This is clearly a figure, and what's around it is clearly a ground. So when you hear painters talk about figure grounds, this is clearly a figure. It's dimensional. It looks like a tower in Siena, maybe, and that's a ground behind it. And likewise, this is a figure, and that's a ground. So there's a lot of crossing over so that some of these figures are crossing past other things. So it's this playful quality of not being quite sure how these toys are organized, and they are really painted. They suggest real things, but they are really painted, and they're lit from the same direction. You notice the light is coming from this direction here, and from this direction here, from this direction, and from this direction. They're all lit from this side. Well, I think the joy that comes out of looking at this comes from looking at the way he uses orange and green and blue and orange and those the two sets of complementaries. This one is called The Rape of Europa. And for those of you who don't know your mythology, Zeus, or Jupiter, depending on if you're talking about it as a Roman or a Greek, he disguises himself as a bull, and he steals this girl whose name is Europa. And he takes her off, and he impregnates her, and then she has a half-god child, which is a very important part to remember about this idea of rape, because when we think of the word rape, we think of something quite different than having a half-god child. This is a very expressive painting, and it's a very strong painting, and it has a lot of power in it. And we don't really need to decide whether he's sympathetic to the bull or to the girl. We just need to look at it. It's not about total logic. It's really about two things, two beings interacting with each other. So you've got, talk about figure ground. We talked about figure ground in the other painting. This has a strong figure ground. The ground down here is really the ground. The ground here is the sky. The ground up here is some dark cloud or something. But still, you've got a figure ground here. There really isn't too much doubt about where the figure ground is. Possibly because she's pink, she has priority as a figure in the sense that she's a little isolated in relation to him, in relation to the bull. Well, I think he purposely took that bull and divided it up, and he changed how he treated it. So this is treated differently. These two parts of it are treated sort of as one unit. And then he's got this transition in here where he goes from the white all the way through to this sort of grungy green. And then this is really a whole different thing. So this transition actually breaks that image up. You're pointing out something that I think is actually right. One of the things about talking about paintings that's really important is that analysis is never like science. It is always about comparative. And I might see this painting this time one way, and I might come and see it a couple years from now and see it totally differently. And you too will see them differently. So part of the point of a painting is that even though it's the same painting, you change.